right, good morning. Well, I'm sitting here trying to banish the procrastination and get some work done. I'm actually filming today on a rental Sony A7 Mark IV camera that I rented just to see if I can't maybe do a little more creative work on these videos. I can feel a little creativity trying to break back out of the shell it's been in for all these years. So, I've been kind of warring with myself every morning, like, should I stay on the boat and work on it, or should I grab the camera gear and head off up to Deception Pass or something like that? I decided to work on the boat today. So I have been here working on the galley doors for that little wine cabinet area and things like that. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to actually tear in down in the engine compartment, see what I can figure out about that generator. On the note, while I've been working on the generator, there is a gauge. I'll show you the gauge on the breaker panel. And it's broken. I mean, it's stuck in one position. It's not indicating at all the input voltage from shore power. So even if I disconnect shore power, the thing is still sitting at 90 volts. I remember going clear back to the day I first visited this boat. The owner was sitting right here where I'm sitting today, and he said something about the shore power. The marina was doing something with shore power. And I looked at that gauge, and I saw it was sitting at about 90 volts. And I was like, oh yeah, that's weird that you're not getting a full 110 volts out of there. I'm no electrician, so maybe you can't ever get 90 volts out of a 110 volt circuit. But I just noticed it. And the last time I went out, when I disconnected shore power and I was down there kind of flipping breakers and stuff, all of a sudden I was like, wait a second, that thing's still reading 90 volts and I know that we're disconnected. So it's not working at all. I did find a replacement for it online and have ordered it from Beoman, B-E-O-M-A-N, I think it is. It looks like is who made the original. Unfortunately, it looks like it's coming in from China, so I'm not sure when that's going to get here, or if it'll get here at all with this trade war we got going on with China. But hopefully it'll get here, and I'll swap that out. It's just got 2 wires on the back. It's no big deal. 3 screws hold it in place. You pull it out. There's 2 wires on the back, and off you go. So I've got a couple things to look at. I've also found that over the last few days, the vacuum flush thing on the master head has been cycling on and off by itself when nothing's going on. I kind of think sometimes boats are like anything else. They work best when they're used all the time. Everything stays working, and when you go away for 3 weeks or a month and then come back, then that's when stuff starts to misbehave a little bit. So I'll take a look at that and see what I can do. Those have probably been on the boat since day one, and may be something that a guy could just put a whole new unit in there and get a nice fresh system in there without too much of that kind of business going on. But anyway, I'll take a look at that and see what I think about it. I'm not sure I can do anything just yet. I am planning on stopping up at the Seaview West, or whatever the little boatyard is up here. They've got a little chandlery store there. I'm going to ask them if they do anchor chain, because I've been thinking about upgrading to all anchor chain and no rope, or rope just at the end. And I'm just concerned about how do you get it to the boat if you've got 200-300 feet of chain. Certainly not going to want to bring it down the ramp at low tide when the ramp's like at an angle like that. So anyway, I'm just going to tear in and see if I can get some work done today, and I'll bring you along, and we'll see what we can learn about this generator first. All right, well, nasty wiring aside, here's what I've done so far. I've checked this fuse. I've checked the fuse inside of this fuse holder. And I've kind of deciphered what some of this is. Like these wires here go to this little beeper, which is the low oil pressure. I believe that's our oil pressure sending unit right there. So that's our low oil pressure alarm. And then this mess right here, I'm not sure what this is. So there's a wire that's just looped and taped back to itself. We've got this run here inside of the blue sheath that's going to the starter solenoid. I have checked the battery. I do have power to the solenoid, so we know we're good there. We've obviously got what appears to be a little fuel pump down here. It's got wiring to it, so that, I'm going to loosen this bracket up here, but that's this wire, which then turns around and goes back out to this wire, which then goes over here, and that comes up here to this unit, which would be our indicator of output voltage and our hour meter for our generator. All right, well, on my list of little jobs I wanted to get done, one of the jobs I need to do was run the calibration process on that Tankwatch system that I put in, Tank Edge. What you do basically is you either have to set your full point or your empty point. I mean, you have to essentially set them both. But wherever you are with your tank, if it's full, then you want to fill it clear to the top, and then you shut the unit off and you hold down the menu button while you're turning it back on, and that kind of puts you in the setup menu, and then you can kind of work through. There's places in there where you can name the tank, so you can tell it I do want this tank on or off, you know, whether it's monitoring it. But when you get to the calibration thing, then like I was doing the freshwater tank today, so it basically says, do you want to calibrate the full level or the empty level? So I had filled the tank. So in fact, I had even lifted the mattress up and pulled the cover off to make sure that I was full. And so I set the full level, and then I basically just, I took a shower and I turned on the faucets and both the heads and just let them run for a while and drained it all down, and then went through that process again and set the empty level. So I now have set both empty and full on that freshwater tank, and now I expect it to be telling me the truth about how we're doing. I did learn that it takes a long time to pump that thing out, so that's a good thing. You know, I kind of have worried from time to time about how long the water will last, you know, when you're using it and you're out traveling around. I'll just tell you, it takes a long time to pump that thing empty with the water pump. The water pump, I think, can pump like 3 gallons a minute at full bore, and you know, you're never really, I don't think, getting that through the system. So it took a long time. In fact, I ran it for a while, and then it was kind of getting tired to listen to the pump run, so I shut everything off for a while, did some other stuff, came back again, turned it on, ran it until I started sucking water through the system, and then I shut everything off and I did my calibration for the empty level. So I've now set full and empty on the freshwater tank, and calibration's done. So that's one little part of one of the jobs checked off, and making progress on getting some of this stuff done. Okay, so I got the notification that my voltage meter had arrived. So I walked down to the little dockside mail place where I collect my packages and came across this scene. So this is the officials chasing the seals off of the finger piers by the fuel dock. They had taken them over. And yes, indeed, that lady is wearing a Orca head. When I came back a couple of days later, it looks like they just gave up and put a post or two up and taped off the finger piers and let the seals have them. But I did get my gauge in and it's working now. You can see I had it here as I turned back on the shore power. All right, well, one of the things that was on the list of stuff that needed to get sorted out was the outboard on the dinghy down there. It was a little tough to get started. The last time Sam and I were out, we were trying to get off of a mooring ball, and I was gonna start the dinghy up and run around the front and put a different rope through because we had a hook on there, and I couldn't get the thing to start. So I have messed around with it a little bit today. I did get it running, but the throttle is stuck. And so what I've done is I've taken the carburetor off. I'm gonna set it down here and work on it a little bit, see if I can free that up and see if it'll be okay, or if not, I think you can buy a new carburetor for not too expensive, so might just do that anyway. Keep this one in reserve, but let's have a look at it, see what we can do. Alright, well, I went ahead and ordered a new carburetor. I could not get that thing to come out, that butterfly valve, or break loose, and the plastic on the top, the little piece that controls it, was cracked because the thing is just obviously corroded in there. So I've put the carb back on the outboard. I've got it back up there. So that's on that swivel thing that swivels when the boat goes down. Don't really like this setup, but not really a fan of that outboard or that boat either. I'd rather have a inflatable and then just put it up on top. But that's where it is for now. So it's really clear down there. I don't know if you can see through the water, but I can clear to the bottom, although it's low tide, so bottom's not down there very far. So anyway, dinghy, we know what's wrong, can't fix it. I'm kind of frustrated with the fuel pump for the generator. I think I know what's wrong. Two things are wrong. A, we're not getting any power to the fuel pump. And B, the starter seems to be like disengaging pretty quickly, so I'm not sure, maybe we need a starter for that thing. So I may mess around a little bit further. I pulled about 500 zip strips out of that engine, or that under the helm there where all the wiring is, so I need to go put a few back in to kind of lay everything out. And what I did is I separated out the fuel pump, and I need to put a toggle switch up on the dash. There's a spot there where there was an old switch before. So my plan is to kind of basically, hotwire, if you will, that fuel pump so it's got power to it when I know I got power to it by turning on a switch or whatever. And then the breaker is fine for when I flip the breaker off, then there's no start on the generator. It won't try to start. So I think that part's okay. I think the starter's okay. I think the generator looks like it's wired up okay. Everything looks good. But yeah, a little bit of frustration with some of these projects, and some have gone okay. So I did hear from the mattress guys. I don't know if I told you, but I bought a new mattress for the master cabin bed down there, because the one that was there was a old memory kind of foam mattress, although not really a newer one. It's just kind of like sleeping on a wet piece of clay and you sink down in it and keep me awake. So anyway, I've got a new mattress coming tomorrow. That's Friday, and then I'll probably bug out and go back to Salt Lake and get some more work done on the house there. So this might be all we get done on the boat ride, although got a fair amount done. While we're back in the back here, I probably will take one more round of measurements on our area for our back fridge back here. I'm not going to put a water maker in there. I'm just going to put a fridge so we can have cold beer and soda pop and water back here. And at some point, I'm going to replace this sink because it's just kind of sitting in there. But last time I started on a sink, I wound up redoing the whole galley, so I'm not going to do that again right this minute. But yeah, some progress and some dead ends, or kind of didn't get the projects done, but at least I know what's going on now and I know where we're at. Now, the generator is not a deal killer. When I look at that Victron controller down there, it says on an average day when I'm just have whatever's running in the house, the lights and the computer and all that, and the Starlink and whatnot, that at that rate, the lithium batteries say they've got 17 hours of runtime when I shut off the shore power. But that just doesn't include cooking. And when you use a hot water heater, you know, that I would imagine would use a fair amount of juice to cook that back up. Now, if we're underway, the engines cycle water through and heat up the hot water that way. So if you were underway and you stopped and want to take a shower right then, you'd have plenty of hot water. And if you then got underway again, you'd reheat it with the engines, so you wouldn't necessarily be using up a bunch of juice that way. But that's about the only variables, is cooking and making coffee and possibly the hot water heater. So, you know, if it's saying we have 17 hours of runtime altogether with the house load, the basic load, then I would think we're probably easily going to get a day's worth of run with cooking and all that kind of stuff. But we'll test it out. And again, all I'm saying is, if that's the case, then we don't even need to run the generator, which is just fine by me. But it would be nice to know I can run it if I have to. It's not a deal killer. I can sure go out and charge batteries up by moving every day. But if I wound up in some spot where I wanted to stay for 2 or 3 days, it'd be nice to be able to just fire the generator up every so often if I needed to juice things back up. So yeah, there we go. That might be it for this trip, and you might see me next time back in Salt Lake, or I'll be back up here in a couple of weeks once I get a little further on the house down there. So there we go.